All right, what is going on, ladies and gentlemen? How is it going? I am Is There No One Else? And the video I'm bringing you today, we are going to go over all the vampire changes for the first week of the PTS of Greymoor. Now, as a lot of you guys already know, a lot of players, our YouTubers, have gone through the content. They've explained the nuts and bolts as far as what each skill is, what it does, what the animation is. I am here to tell you if it's viable for PvP. Do I think it will work in PvP? Do I think the different stages of vampirism will be valuable in PvP? So we're going to take this a step further. We're going to go a step further than everybody else. I'm going to give you the nitty-gritty of, is this going to work? Now, I messed with Vampire quite a bit last night on my stream. For those of you guys that don't know, I stream every Wednesday and Saturday on Twitch. This week, I will be going over the PTS and probably next week as well. There's a lot of information out there. So if you guys want to help theorycraft with me, brainstorm, come up with new sets, the Twitch stream helped me a lot looking at things that I overlooked on my patch note review. That stuff is valuable to me, and hopefully it's valuable to you as well. We had a lot of fun last night. But yeah, so tomorrow I will be streaming, Saturday I will be streaming on the PTS, but this is some of the information that we gathered from testing on the PTS yesterday. So, with that being said, guys, let's dive into it. Vampire got overhauled in a huge way. If you guys look at it, completely different. New ultimate, we now have a spammable, we now have a fear, we have a toggle that gives us more damage, we have our old vampire drain, and we also have a new misform. Passives got worked around a little bit, so we're going to dive into passives first, and then we're just going to talk about what they are and what they do. So the first thing that got changed is now feeding elevates it elevates your vampirism. Before, you used to have to feed to satiate yourself and lower the amount of how high your vampirism was. It's completely different now. So when you feed, you go to stage 2, you go to stage 3, you go to stage 4, and you get different impacts. And so with different impacts, you get different effects. And so I'm going to do that. I'm going to walk around and feed. I'm going to show you guys the new animations that are pretty cool. And I'm going to show you what each one does and then the new passives that you get from it. So we got to find people to feed on. We can be seen here. That's not good. That's not good. But yeah, if you don't feed, you slowly go back to stage 1. And so that's the biggest change that you will see. We get new animations, obviously. If people see us do this, we can get caught by the law. So we were at stage 1, and now we go to stage 2. By doing this, people run away from us. We'll go up to stage 4, and then we have food that can kind of get rid of our vampirism, and then I can show you that. But yeah, there's multiple different animations. I actually had a lot of fun. I almost never do open world like PvE overland content, but the vampire stuff was actually a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun going around and murdering people. So yeah, so look, like the new animations are really sick. They did a really good job with this. I know it's a minor thing in the grand scheme of things, but it's really well done. And I think, let me see, I think I'm at 4. So yeah, so we'll start Vampire Stage 4, and then we will leave town here so we don't get caught. And then we will go, and then here is one of the new passives that I had an issue with at first, and we'll go through what each one is. So we are now out of town. We have slaughtered all of our people. You see we're at Vampire Stage 4. At Vampire Stage 4, you take negative 100% health recovery. So your health recovery is at 0 at Vampire Stage 4. Your flame damage taken is boosted by 20%. Your regular ability costs are buffed by 20%, and your vampire ability costs are reduced by 40%. So you will see my abilities. Even ultimates are increased by 40% while you're at Vampire Stage 4. So all of your spammables, all of your heals, all of that gets increased by 40%. Now, that's the issue with being Vampire Stage 4. Sorry, not by 40%, by 20%. Your vampire abilities cost 20% more. For those of you guys that run Potentate or run New Moon Acolyte, you know what 5% feels like. You have to sacrifice a lot in order to run normal, regular abilities in Vampire Stage 4. Now, there is a benefit, and I talked about it on a previous thing, and I wanted to see how it was going to play out. But while you're at Vampire Stage 4, it reduces the cost of your sprint, and if you continuously sprint for 3 seconds, you automatically become invisible. So this is how you can go invisible while sprinting. So if you sprint long enough, you become invisible. The minute you stop sprinting, you come out of invis. You can crouch at that point, but that's the invisibility that I was worried about in PvP. But with the cost increase that they have given in this game, I do not think it is viable on most builds to run Stage 4 Vampire. Like, basically you would have to run all of these skills. You'd want to run the ultimate to get the reduced cost on the ultimate. You'd want to run the spammable. You'd want to run the fear because that reduces the cost of all of your vampire abilities by 40%, which is nice. But you don't really have a heal in here. And so your heals and your armor buffs and all these other sorts of things are going to cost you a lot of resources. And for that reason, I think that it's not viable in PvP to be Vampire Stage 4. So now we're going to go down to Stage 3. We'll take this Purifying Bloody Mara. If you're a vampire, the blood in this drink will also purify you, reducing your stage by 1. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to go down to Stage 3. Vampire Stage 3. Health recovery reduced by 70%. Flame damage is 15% instead of 20%. Regular ability cost is 15%. And vampire ability cost is 30%. So just slightly less. Slightly less. Reduces your damage taken by up to 30% based on your missing health. This is what you get with Undeath. So you have to be Vampire Stage 3 or 4 to get the Undeath passive. Now, I still don't... it will require more testing, but a 15% cost increase to most of your abilities, I don't think is still worth having this Undeath passive. So if you're relying on being a vampire for the Undeath passive in PvP on most builds, I don't think you're going to pull it off. There are some classes, there are some cheaper heals, maybe a Magplar can pull it off. Their Purify is expensive, but their Honor the Dead's pretty cheap. So maybe at that point, because your defensive abilities are a little bit cheaper, you could pull it off. But like a Mag DK, increasing the cost of Coag, no. Like, you don't want to do that. Your Embers cost a lot. Like you're just... There's some classes where you're not going to benefit from Undeath. So that's fine. What else do we got here? So we got Strike from the Shadows, which is Vampire Stage 2. And I will get to all the skills and abilities, but I want to show the stages for you guys so you guys have an idea. And from my testing from yesterday, health recovery is minus 40, flame and damage taken is 10%, regular ability cost is plus 10%, so it's double New Moon Acolyte. Vampire ability cost is negative 20%. So now we're getting to the point where we're viable, where it would actually be viable on most open world builds. Vampire, we get Strike from the Shadows at Stage 2. When you leave Sneaker, Invisibility, or Misform, your weapon and spell damage is increased by 300 for 6 seconds. This is a very cool skill. So not only is it Sneaker Invisibility, which is, Nightblade things, Mistform also counts. So if once you come out of Mistform, you get an increased weapon and spell damage bonus. And Mistform, I will go into in a little bit. Stage 2 is very intriguing to get into at this point. Yes, the cost of your abilities are going to increase by 10%. Can you offset the 10% with 300? Possibly. I think you can on a few builds. I think you can on a few classes. But if you're utilizing Mistform, you could potentially pull this off. And then finally, we have Darkstalker with no classification. Increase the movement speed penalty of Sneak. Decrease the time it takes to enter Sneak by 50%. There, you don't have to be any stage. So we will go back down to Stage 1. I'm sorry, I was on the wrong bar. So now we're at Vampire Stage 1, and we have health recovery minus 10%, flame damage is only 5%, we're not getting shredded by mag DKs anymore by being a vampire, regular ability cost is only plus 5%, vampire ability cost is only minus 10%. So in my opinion, for most Magicka builds, or most builds that are trying to be a vampire in PvP, Stage 1 is going to be the way to go. You're going to have access to all of the abilities, without a ton of drawbacks. Yes, you're going to take 5% more flame damage. Yes, your regular ability costs are going to be increased by 5%, but that's a small price to pay for the access to some of the skills that you're going to have in your bar. Some of the skills that Vampire has really increases your survival rate. Now, I do not personally think the current Vampire stages are super viable in open world PvP. Like I said, I don't think that they are. I definitely wouldn't be looking to run it unless I really theory crafted a build like even harder to min-max those sorts of things. But because Vampire skill line doesn't have a heal, like a burst heal, I think I would have a hard time trying to run Vampire Stage 4 in open world. But let's dive into the skills and let's look at what is actually valuable. First thing we have, guys, is Perfect Scion. This is one of the morphs to be a vampire. And there's a way you could probably build this around, but this is just one of the morphs. Transform into a monstrous creature of the night, instantly healing to full health. While transformed, your max health, magic, and stamina is increased by 10,000. You heal for 15% of all damage you deal, and you can see enemies through walls. You also ascend to Vampire Stage 5, which grants all the benefits of Vampire Stage 4 with none of the drawbacks. So Vampire Stage 4 is what I showed you before. You get a 40% costing decrease on your vampire abilities, but a 20% increase to everything else. If you can create an ulti-gen build to generate it, I think I got this down to about 160 ultimate yesterday. I'm on a Magic and Nightblade. I got it down to about 160. I think on a Mag Sork you can get it down to like 120 or whatever. If you can generate ultimate and you can get into Blood Scion a lot, you potentially could run Stage 4. I haven't theory crafted that far. That took me down a whole different rabbit hole, like looking at those things. I'm saying there are possibilities there to do that. I don't know how viable it'll actually be, but I wanted to show you guys what Blood Scion is. So when we cast, it's a really cool animation. We are a big freaking creature. We can activate all of our normal skills, vampire, non-vampire skills. So while we're in this, we are bigger, we have more health, and we also ignore like our vampire stages. So a lot of that's pretty valuable. The other morph, we have bats around us, so it's an AoE capability. It's very, very interesting. I do think that the ultimate has some potential. The cool thing that Vampire also has is this spammable now. Now this is the morph that I was looking at. I wanted to compare it for you guys to another spammable. Since we're on a Mag Blade, we can compare it to Concealed Weapon. And so we're at Stage 1. Arterial Burst, unbuffed, costs 1,735 magicka, and it deals 8742 magic damage at base. Deals up to 50% more damage based on your missing health. If you use this ability while you're under 50% health, it will always be a critical strike. This does 8103 damage and costs more. So Arterial Burst gives you more damage, and it costs less at base, Vampire Stage 1 than Concealed Weapon does. So it looks like it's a pretty good spammable if you're trying to play a melee class, and if you drop to low health, like you get more burst damage, like you can scale 50% higher and also crit. It has a lot of potential. I think Arterial Burst is actually pretty well done. I think it's in a pretty good spot. I just kind of wish, Melee Magblade was at a little bit better of a spot as well. But yeah, that's a pretty good skill. We also have Simmering Frenzy. This is the new toggle that is available for vampires. It's very interesting. The other morph gives you 660 weapon and spell damage, and it costs a static amount of health. This one can go up to 1,200 or 1,320 spell damage, but it increases the cost. So when we toggle this, it costs us health. And this entire time I'm slowly increasing spell damage, and I'm losing health. I cannot die while I'm running this. I'll show it to you guys, but if I drop to a certain amount, what happens is the toggle comes off. So I'll just let my health bar disappear. I go down to like 1k health, and then the toggle goes away. But if we look at my spell damage unbuffed, just so you guys have an idea, I'm at 1,697. I hit the toggle. I'm at 2423. You see it slowly going up. This toggle is very, very interesting for burst for a few reasons. Number one, this operates outside of the global cooldowns. So what that means, for those of you guys that don't know, this game has a set amount of global cooldowns, meaning you can only activate a skill every second. And so if you're activating a skill every second, you have time where you have to wait in between skills. Because it operates outside of that, that means I can activate skills, I can go into the toggle, I can hit my burst combination, I can pop out of the toggle at any point that I want. It gives you a huge burst window. It's essentially Clever Alchemist while activating a skill. Now, is everybody going to use this? No, probably not. It costs health, so you're going to have to keep your heals up. You're going to have to be able to... There's a big risk-reward to run this. But if you pop your Vigor and you go in with your toggle, you can gain more burst off your leap. You can gain more damage off your burst combination when you really need it. And I think that has value on literally any open-world build. So there is some value in having this toggle, especially on classes where you just don't have many killing skills, and you want to amplify the only killing skills that you have. So I'm looking at UMag Stam Sorks. Like those sorts of things could be very valuable. And so I was very excited about the toggle. I like where they have it with the cost. I like where they have it with how much damage it gives you. The risk reward I think is pretty good. Vampiric Drain, it's the same. It's the same stuff like Drain that we've had. It's not really a big deal. and we have Hypnosis. This is the new Vampire Stun. I think this one's better than the other one. The other one is a cone in front of you, and if they're looking at you from that cone in front of you, it stuns them, and then it CCs them. This one is an AoE. It's an AoE fear. So if you're getting dogpiled on and you activate this, if they're looking at you, they get the stun. I have to go find some things to fear really quick. I'm sorry. I have the slowest mount because I didn't upgrade my mount speed on the PTS last night. But I'm actually very excited about this. And this is one of the main reasons Vampire is going to be viable for a few classes like Magdin and Magic and Necromancer, because this fear works so well. Sorry, I got to go around over here really quickly. But before we get to showing exactly what the fear is and what the animation is and all those other sorts of things, let's look at what it is and what it does. So we have 2653 magic cost. It stuns them for 5 seconds. If they're facing your direction, the stun cannot be blocked. If we compare this to Mass Hysteria as another CC, Mass Hysteria costs 3364 magicka. This costs 2653, so it's cheaper. Mass Hysteria works for up to 6 enemies. They don't have to be looking at you. Hypnosis, they have to be looking at you. So there's those differences there. Let me take this off and put a spammable on. Sorry, 1 second. So it is a cheaper Mass Hysteria. And once again, I think this is a good spot for fears. I just wish that Mass Hysteria was better. So if they're not looking at me and I fear, you see I get the 2 stuns. I have to fear again in order to get this stun. So they're stunned for 5 seconds, but that's the animation. I don't have to be looking at them. If they try and attack me from behind, which they're going to, we will activate this, and you see, as long as I activate this, they get the stuns if they're looking at me. So it is a very valuable stun. If you're a Magicka Warden, if you're a Magicka Necromancer, and you don't really have an offensive stun while everybody's piled on top of you, like a very good functional on-demand one, I think it's going to be valuable to go into stage 1 for this stun. I think it's in a really good spot. I like it. I like it quite a bit. I think it's going to open up some opportunities for those classes. Now, Blood Mist. The other morph heals you while you're in Mist form, but Mist form, this is actually the one that heals you. Both of them are activated off a toggle now. So this is Dissolve into a Bloody Mist, reducing your damage taken by 75% as long as you maintain in the channel. While in this form, you deal magic damage every 1 second the enemies around you and heal for the damage caused. The other one, just a toggle, gives you Major Expedition the same way it always has. But like I said, it is a toggle. And so this costs magicka. So if you're in stage 4 and you really want to use this, it can be super cheap. But I can now be in Mist form for as long as I have magicka. There's no duration where I can come out of it. If I need to get to a spot and it's super far away, I don't have to get out of Mist form to get to the spot I need. I just need the magicka and the sustain to get to where I'm at. Nobody can heal me while I'm in this. But as soon as I activate out of it, I come out, and my normal regen comes into play. So that is a huge change for Mist form and Blood Mist for the Vampire. It still gives you the damage mitigation. The other morph still gives you the movement speed and all those other sorts of things. So that is still valuable for a lot of builds that lack movement. But yeah, now if I need to get to these palm trees, like normally I'd be out of Mist form now, I can just keep going. And yeah, I'm not going to be healed or anything outside of this Blood Mist, but now I can get to where I want to get to. Very cool with the animations, but yeah, that's all the information you guys need to know. These are the Vampire changes. These are all the stages. If you guys have any questions or comments, please ask me. If there's anything I missed and you want to talk to me in real time, like I said, I stream Wednesdays and Saturdays on Twitch. You can come check me out tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Eastern, and yeah, we can nerd out, we can test some things, and we can try and break the game. Let me know what you guys think. Thank you for watching, guys. Have a nice day.